it's drilled. Into the goal!
The Trenton Golden Hawks are buckling.
Well, the season started with 132 teams. It's now down to just 5. The RBC is here, and we've got all the action from the opening week. This is the OJ Today. Welcome, everybody. The Royal Bank Cup kicked off, as mentioned, in Coburg last Saturday. A national junior A champion will be decided over the next few days. And on today's show, it's all RBC highlights for you. We've got a ton to cover, so let's get right to it. And for the Coburg Cougars, the waiting was the hardest part. After being knocked out by the Trenton Golden Hawks in the OJHL Northeast Conference Final all the way back on April 8th, they had a 37-day layoff until their opening game at the RBC, and it just so happened that their first game was against that very Trenton team that vanquished them. We knew Coburg would be rested. The question was, would they be rusty? OJ Highlights now brought to you by Bar Down, official clothing supplier to the OJHL.
The Trenton dropped Coburg 4 straight back in the conference finals in April, but the Cougars were missing a few key players for that series who are now back in the lineup. No love lost between these two rivals, located just 30 minutes apart down the 401. Early on, Cougars keeper Stefano Durante not showing any signs of rust as he turns away a couple of good Hawks chances. It's the host team that gets on the board first, courtesy a brutal Trenton giveaway. Jake Bricknell to Josh McGuire, who tickles the twine. McGuire, one of those players who had to miss the playoffs against Trenton. Boy, are they glad to have the former Peterborough Pete back in the lineup. Second frame, the ice wasn't even dry yet when the Hawks evened it up. Anthony Sorrentino, the former Halifax Moosehead, splits the wickets on Durante, and the big Trenton contingent in the stands was loving it, all knotted up at one apiece. As mentioned, these two squads don't like each other. Max Ewert drops the hammer on Matt Busby, and then soon after, Nick Minerva returns the favor on Jeremy Pilara in what was a physical frame. The Cougs would jump back out front, though. Chris Jansen makes the original stop. Nobody clears out Matt Carroll. 2-1 Coburg at the break. But the Dudley Hewitt Cup champions would even it up in the third. Pilara, side of the net, jackpot. Even Steven at 2 apiece, setting up the dramatic overtime finish.
And so they've had a week to get ready, and Coburg, of course, been off for a month. Dump it right in, they score! The Coburg Cougars slip it in, and what a goal! A save by Jansen, the rebound was there, and Coburg opens up with a victory on that overtime goal.
The Cougars shake off any rust they may have had from their 37-day layoff and drop bitter rival Trenton. Afterwards, Josh McGuire, the hero for the Cats, talked about the play that led to the overtime winner.
Yeah, it was a great play by Nick Minerva there. He just, shot low pad, which is a textbook hockey play, and it landed right on my stick. Honestly, a lot of it goes to him. He had a great shot, and I was just the lucky recipient of a pass right on my stick there.
You know what? I was pleasantly surprised with the way things went. It was a tough-fought battle. Obviously, nobody's going to give up, and Trenton obviously battled back. So, it was a good start. It was a good start for us.
Well, earlier in the day, the tournament had its first East versus West encounter as the Fred Page Cup champion Terrebonne Cobras from Quebec took on Alberta's Brooks Bandits, who had punched their ticket to the Nationals by capturing the Western Canada Cup, as opposed to the evening game between Trenton and Coburg, which was a tightly contested defensive showcase. This one was all offense from the opening puck drop.
The Quebec versus Alberta in what was the RBC's opening game, the provincial flags flying proudly during the pregame ceremony. 35 seconds in, Bandits on the power play. No style points for this one, but they'll take it any way they can get it, and Brooks is out to the early 1-0 lead. Just 3 minutes later, Parker Thu showing off the speed. He gets hooked, and it's a penalty shot for the Bandits, and Mr. Thu goes 5-hole. Speaking of holes, the Cobras had dug themselves a pretty big one just over 3 minutes in, but they were resilient. Power play. Vincent Lavoie to William Gignac, and the lead is cut in half. to 2-1. And then a minute 15 later on the PP again. Don't blink. Loic Levellier absolutely smashes the one-timer past Mitch Benson. And just like that, they were all tied up at 2 apiece. But then, my captain, Nick Berkusik, the man with the C for Brooks, wires it top shelf to give the Bandits back the lead. It's 3-2. And then 40 seconds later, Berkusik again knocks it home to make it 4-2. This is all still in the first period. And then the player that has NHL scouts salivating, projected first-round pick, Cale Makar, shows why we're so excited as he rips it top shelf. A crazy first period that had the Brooks faithful very loud and very happy for good reason. The teams would add one more goal in the third each to make it a 6-3 final. So Brooks, the Western Canada Cup champions, start out the RBC very strongly and look like they will be a team to be reckoned with. Okay, before the evening game, the opening ceremonies took place. Coburg Cougars Governor Marc Mercier stopped by and he talked about how great it was to see the RBC finally kick off after so much planning and hard work.
We have some fabulous partners, Hockey Canada, the Ontario Junior Hockey League, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, the whole community, this volunteer base that we have in the town of Coburg, 200 plus volunteers, it's all come together and literally years of preparation is on the line. And what we're seeing is that the fans have already enjoyed some incredible hockey, and we know that the next 9 days is going to be absolutely incredible. So you better strap on your seatbelts because there's some real exciting hockey ahead.
Welcome back to the OJ Today. So the Trenton Golden Hawks found themselves behind the 8 ball after losing their RBC Cup opener in overtime to the Coburg Cougars. Now, the Dudley Hewitt Cup champions had to regroup and refocus the next day as they took on the Fred Page Cup champion Terrebonne Cobras, who themselves had dropped their first game to the Brooks Bandits. Now, things were looking good for the G-Hawks in this one until the start of the third period when the wheels fell off.
It was all going so well for Trenton for 2 periods. Just 2:07 into the first, Chris Sekelic in alone here. Hits pay dirt, and the Hawks off to a great start, up 1-0. Late in the frame, it's Sekelic causing all kinds of problems again for the Cobras. A beautiful solo effort here, and then he finds Anthony Sorrentino out front, and he makes it 2-0. Trenton outshooting Terrebonne 30-19 over the first 2 periods. But then came the third, where, as mentioned, the wheels came off like an 18-wheeler going off a cliff, if I'm channeling the great Brian Burke here. Less than 2 minutes in, Gabriel Paquin beats Chris Jansen. Terrebonne right back in it. They cut the lead in half to 2-1. And then just 3 minutes after that, Michael Lafrance with a fantastic solo effort here, as he will elude the Trenton D-man, spot Pierre-Anthony Martineau out front, all tied up at 2 apiece. Close your eyes and plug your ears if you're a Trenton fan. It gets worse from here. Less than 2 minutes after that, Chad Pietro Nero uses his teammate as a decoy, rips it past Jansen for the game winner. 3 Terrebonne goals in less than 5 minutes to spoil what had been a great game by the Hawks up until that point, as the Cobras grabbed the all-important 3 points. That was 3 goals on just 8 shots in the third frame. Totally deflating stuff for the Hawks, but kudos to the Cobras, who didn't hang their heads when they were down, and as we saw against Brooks, they have that quick strike capability. Okay, a rematch of 2 teams from the Western Canada Cup. Penticton strikes just 2:07 in off a weird one. Keep your eye on Parker Fu right here, as puts the puck into his own net while trying to clear it. It happens, but he wanted to dig a hole and hide out for a little bit. But we skip ahead to the third now, and Fu redeems himself. Matthew Robson makes the initial stop on Cale Makar. Mr. Fu, though, on the doorstep. Redemption. And number 22 evens things up at 1 apiece, which meant this baby needed overtime.
Again. Makar to Mappin. Gets it back to the point. Sessanoff. Look for the deflection. They score! That goal comes at 3:17 in overtime, and it's a 2-1 win in overtime for the Brooks Bandits.
The time map and the hero on the day for the Bandits as they keep their record unblemished at the RBC. So little separating these two teams. And you know, Penticton would love another crack at Brooks later in the week.
Well, it was some sweet revenge for the host Coburg Cougars as they knocked off OJHL rival Trenton in their opening game. A stiff test awaited the Cougs in their second contest, however, in the form of the Penticton Vs, the BCHL champions. Now, the Vs have been a national power over the last few years, capturing the RBC back in 2012. And this season, they boast a mind-numbing 17 NCAA Division I commitments. And after dropping their tournament opener against Brooks, the Vs were a hungry squad.
You know, the Vs were still stinging from that OT loss to the Bandits the day before. The Cougars were looking to build on their opening game win against the Hawks, but it only took 24 seconds for the Vs to strike, and it's another weird one. Keep your eye on Jesse Baird here. It looks like his pass takes a wicked bounce off the boards and then in off Stefano Durante. One of the more bizarre goals we've seen for some time. The members bounce, not so kind to the host Cougars there. Second frame, though, they would hit back. Some strong work behind the net by a few Coburg players here. Spencer Roberts, nephew of former NHLer Gary Roberts, jams it home, and the home crowd was loving it as the Cats knotted up at one apiece heading into the third period. Now, in goal for the Vs was Matt Robson, former Toronto Patriot, and heading to Minnesota next year on a scholarship. And Robson shows why the Gophers are so excited about him, as he held the fort for Penticton and managed to keep the Cougars at bay there. The Vs managed to retake the lead early in the frame. Former Brandon Wheat King Duncan Campbell drops for Georgetown, Ontario native Chris Clack. And Clack, who's headed to Clarkson of the NCAA next year, gives the Vs a one-goal advantage as they were up 2-1. Robson continuing to shine at the other end for the Okanagan boys. Jesse Baird wires a point shot. Robson snags it, and the one-goal Penticton lead remains intact. Stefano Durante standing tall at the other end of the ice as well as he robs the Vs a couple of times, allowing his teammates to even things up.
Roy has it on the left point. He's in the face-off circle. Tried a cross-ice pass for Castle, didn't work. 8 seconds left in the penalty. Locke has it. Locke will move to the other side. Roy will take the shot, looking for the deflection. They score! They get the deflection with 1 second left in the penalty to Clack.
So it was 2-2, but the Vs had one last big push in regulation. 2 good chances on Durante, but once again, the OJ All-Star shuts the door. So it would have to come down to overtime.
Sandheim got it to the point. They dump it in. Jones goes after it. Now they got a wraparound. This is Jones. A backhand shot. They score! It was a back pass. Jones shoveled it through. No chance for Durante. And that goal coming at 6:29. And the Penticton Vs get the winner in overtime.
Definite style points on that one. Jones to Sandheim for the game winner as the Vs grab the all-important 2 points. Great game by both squads as they put up 33 shots apiece in the overtime thriller.
Welcome back to the OJ Today. So the Trenton Golden Hawks really had backed themselves into a corner after dropping their first 2 games of the RBC. Game 3 was pretty much a must-win, but the task wasn't going to be easy. Their opposition on Tuesday was Brooks, AJHL champions, Western Canada Cup victors. The Bandits were a team on a mission since getting knocked out of last year's RBC in the semifinals. So Trenton needed to step up its play in a big way if they wanted to keep their championship aspirations alive.
Unfortunately for Trenton, the championship aspirations took a serious hit in this game. Just over 4 minutes in, Parker Fu to Connor Jean, 1-0 for the Bandits. Most of the damage was done in the second frame, and there was a lot of damage. 15 seconds in, Cale McCarr hammers it past Chris Jansen before he can even react, and it's 2-zip for Brooks, and then it's Nathan Plessis going for a skate. The Hawks very laissez-faire on defense here, and it makes it look way too easy as he just waltzes in 3-0. 30 seconds later, Nick Hamry tips in the point shot, and it was a 4-goal bulge for Brooks, and they added one more before the end of the period. Dennis Cessna to El Capitan, Nick Perkusik, who wires it home. And oh boy, this one was getting ugly. 5-0 Bandits. Third frame now. The onslaught continued. Beautiful passing here. Cessna to Ty Mappin on the power play, and that made it 6, and they would go on to add 2 more. 8-0 your final. The Hawks just got overwhelmed. Much ado had been made about Brooks' firepower, and it was on full display in this contest as the boys from Alberta record their 3rd straight win of the RBC.
Well, Coburg was matched up against Terrebonne in their 3rd tournament game. The Cobras were proving to be a resilient bunch. After getting spanked by Brooks in their opener, they bounced back in a big way against Trenton the next day, erasing a 2-0 deficit in the 3rd period to beat the Dudley Hewitt Cup champions. So the Cougars knew they were dealing with a dangerous squad as the two teams faced off on Tuesday night.
The Cougars were looking to bounce back after dropping that OT heartbreaker to Penticton, and they couldn't have asked for a better start. 22 seconds in, the Cobras have trouble with the rubber behind their own net, and the Cats pounce. Spencer Roberts pounds it home, and it's 1-zip Coburg early on. Then just over a minute later, they strike again. Nick Minerva with the sweet pass here to Josh McGuire. In it goes, and the host side was up 2-zip. It stayed that way until the break. 2nd period now. Late in the frame, actually, Coburg keeping the pressure on in the Terrebonne zone. Spencer Roberts tips home the offering from the point shot, his 2nd of the contest, and the Cats were on top, leading 3-0 at that point. In the 3rd, they blew this thing wide open. Theo Lewis, the immovable object out front, goes roof daddy, and the Cougars could exhale a bit as the lead was now up to 4. But the goal of the game was actually courtesy of the Cobras.
Doom or else Lowry would have been home free. Leger with a burst of speed. Leger tried to grip and score! Eric Leger with a great individual effort moved down that wing.
Eric Leger with a nice solo effort. Since goal differential does matter, Coburg wanted to notch a couple more if they could. Mission accomplished, as Jesse Baird manages to somehow squeeze it past the keeper, and the Cats regain the 4-goal advantage. And then with just over a minute left, Theo Lewis picks up the puck behind the net, applies the wraparound, and puts it home, and it was all Coburg all the time in this one. So 6-1 your final. After 3 games, the host team was looking pretty good. Only 1 loss in overtime to Penticton, and of course the big game against Brooks was still to come, circled on the calendar for Thursday night. Okay, the Golden Hawks were looking to try to salvage what had been a disappointing tournament up to that point as they faced off against Penticton on Wednesday, and it's the V's that hop out to the early lead, and it's a nice one. Sam Rossini to Ty Amonte, and Penticton jumps out to the 1-0 advantage early. The Golden Hawks, not without chances of their own. Moments after that goal, they apply all kinds of pressure here on former Toronto Patriot Matt Robson, but the big keeper turns them away time and time again. The V's come close to stretching their lead soon after. Griffin Mandel on the rush, lets fly, but finds the iron. So 1-zip V's at the break. 2nd frame. The Hawks kept the pressure on, but Robson was like a rock for the V's. Mac Lewis to Josh Allen, sweet move, but the keeper equal to the task, and as mentioned, Robson off to the University of Minnesota this fall. Then a Trenton 2-on-1. Quinn Lanahan keeps for himself, but again, Robson there to deny the Hawks as he did all day long. Chris Jansen, to his credit, did all he could. Penticton 2-on-1. Jansen comes up big to stone Sanheim. Late in the frame, though, the Hawks can't clear their zone. V's leading scorer throughout the playoffs, Nick Jones, adds to his total as the future North Dakota Fighting Hawk makes it 2-0 for Penticton. Now, Trenton fired 21 shots at Matt Robson, but just couldn't capitalize on anything. Hawks on the power play, applying the pressure, but Robson simply unflappable on this day. The V's are making the most of their chances, though, on the power play. Late in the period, it's a passing clinic. Massimo Rizzo ultimately will slam it past Jansen to give them a bit more breathing room, and it's 3-0. Third frame, one more from Penticton. All kinds of pressure around Jansen here, and then finally, Grant Cruikshank bangs it home to make it 4-0 V's, and that is how this one would finish up. Solid game by Penticton. The Golden Hawks, unfortunately, they suffer a power outage at the wrong time as they get shut out for the second straight contest and managed to score just 4 goals in 4 games at the RBC.
Welcome back to the OJ Today. Well, Brooks and Coburg was an intriguing matchup on Thursday night at the RBC Cup. The AJHL champion Bandits featured the highest-ranked Canadian Junior A player for the upcoming NHL draft. That would be defenseman Cale Makar, who was number 9 for North American players on the final NHL Central Scouting list. The Cougars knew they'd have to bring their A-game to knock off the boys from out west.
Brooks was rolling up until this point, the only undefeated team left in the tournament, but it was the Cougars that drew first blood. With the man advantage, OJ Defenseman of the Year, Brennan Roy, hammers the shot from the point that finds daylight, and the host team was out to the 1-0 lead. The ice wasn't even dry yet in the second when they hit again. A comedy of errors here ends up with Connor McEachern, puck on his stick, he wires it top shelf, and the Cougars lead the AJHL champs 2-0 at that point. But the Alberta boys weren't going down without a fight. 40 seconds later, Dennis Cessna with a point shot through traffic. Stefano Durante saw none of that, and it was 2-1. Then 4 minutes later, they would equalize, and it's a beauty. Luke Bast with some mustard on this wrister as he goes top shelf past Durante through traffic, and it was all knotted up at 2 apiece. But Coburg bounces back on the power play. Absolutely gorgeous passing by the Cougars. A little tic-tac-toe. Finally, it's going to be Brendan Locke to Jesse Baird for the finish, and Coburg hops back out front with a 3-2 lead, and then still in the second, they would add to it. Horowski can't handle the shot by Spencer Roberts. George Miranda says, "Thank you very much," as he's got the easy tip in, and they've got a bit of breathing room once again now with the 2-goal bulge up 4-2. In the third, another funny one. The Brooks pass back goes right to the Cougars player stepping out of the penalty box. Horowski makes the initial stop, gets leveled by his own D-man. Wide open net for Spencer Roberts to deposit. Bit of a Three Stooges routine on that one. 5-2 final. Coburg. There were questions as to how much rust the host squad would have, considering they had a 37-day layoff before the RBC, but so far they've proved any naysayers wrong and will be in the semifinals.
Well, it was quite an accomplishment for Quebec representative Terrebonne to even make it to the Royal Bank Cup. And to get there, they had to capture the Fred Page Cup and knock off the Carleton Place Canadians, the 3-time defending champions in the process. On tap for the Cobras in their 4th game at the RBC were the BCHL powerhouse Penticton V's.
A team from Quebec has never won the RBC Cup, but Terrebonne is trying their hardest to make history this year. They draw first blood against Penticton on the power play. Nice puck movement. Matt Robson makes the original save on Gabriel Paquin, but Pierre-Anthony Martineau right there to bang home the rebound, and it's 1-0 for the Cobras. Now, we've seen a few bizarre goals at this year's RBC. Let's add another to the list. The puck takes a funny little bounce here out front, and Gabriel Paquin bangs it home. Terrebonne now up 2-0 in the first period, and in the second, they would pad the lead further. Terrebonne, 2-on-1. Benjamin Beaumier was the Cobras' leading scorer all year, and he shows you why. Gorgeous shot, short side on Robson, and the Cobras looked ready to pull out the upset over the V's. Penticton, not going to roll over and die, though. In the third, they hit back on the PP. The original stop gets made on the point shot. Owen Sillinger right there to deposit the rebound, and that cut the lead to 3-1. That would be as close as the V's would get, though, as the Cobras hold on for the victory. So could this be the year that a team from Quebec finally breaks through at the RBC? Terrebonne will have a chance to do it as we take a look at the final RBC round robin standings. Coburg finishes on top, the hosts, followed by Brooks. Terrebonne in third, tied with Penticton for points anyway, 6 points each, and Trenton, unfortunately not a single win in the RBC. The schedule, Saturday, May 20th. First semifinal will be Penticton against Coburg. That's at 2:30. And then semifinal number 2, we'll see the Brooks Bandits taking on the Terrebonne Cobras at 7:30. And then, of course, the championship final for the RBC Cup on Sunday at 5 p.m. Let's take a look at our RBC Cup top 5 for this week, brought to you by Jostin's official championship ring provider to the OJHL. Number 5, from Thursday's Coburg Brooks tilt, the Cougars work the power play to perfection. Tic-tac-toe passing. Finally, it will be Brendan Locke to Jesse Baird as the Cats would pull out the big 5-2 win over the Bandits. Number 4, Thursday, Terrebonne versus Penticton. Cobras 2-on-1. Benjamin Beaumier rips it over the shoulder of Matt Robson, short side. Part of Terrebonne's 3-1 win over the V's. Number 3, more from the Cobras. They had a tough opening game against Brooks, but Loic Leveillé had the goal of the game as he tattoos the one-timer top shelf past the Bandits keeper. Sweet. Number 2, Bandits versus V's on Sunday. Overtime. Beautiful passing by the Alberta champions. Dennis Cessna to Ty Mappin. And boom goes the dynamite. Fantastic goal to secure the 2 points for Brooks over the Western rivals. And number 1 for this week, Penticton got an overtime winner of its own against Coburg, and it was sweet. Nick Jones with the no-look backhand pass to Taylor Sanheim. Take another look. The North Dakota recruit puts it right on the tape for the winner, and that is your RBC Cup play of the week.
And that's going to wrap things up for this week. The RBC semifinals and championship game, of course, going this weekend in Coburg. HockeyCanada.ca is the place to go to for all your up-to-date information. Your OJ headquarters, of course, is OJHL.ca. At OJHL Official on Twitter, and Facebook is facebook.com/OJHL Official. Thank you so much for watching, folks. We'll see you next week.